Okay, so you know how we love to dig into these kind of sort of misleading names in history? Well, this one is, let's just say it's a prime example. The Battle of Short Hills. You'd think, right, big fight happened in Short Hills. Easy. Except, get this, the real action, it wasn't even in what we now call Short Hills.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. It's almost like right away, history's playing tricks on us, makes you wonder what else we got wrong, you know? And that's what we're going to look at, like what really went down and where.
Exactly. We're talking June 1777, American Revolution in full swing. And General Howe, he's trying to outsmart Washington, get him out of those watching mountains right here in Jersey.
Yeah.
Now, this whole thing with Lord Stirling's troops, key part of that whole chess match.
And you got to remember how his endgame, Philadelphia, capital city, Continental Congress, the whole shebang, he wanted it. And Washington, he knew it.
So let's keep our players straight. We got Brigadier General William Alexander, a.k.a. Lord Stirling. He's our American commander here. On the other side, the big guy, Lieutenant General Sir William Howe, leading the British. Can't forget his right-hand man, Lord Cornwallis, John Vaughan. And the numbers, get this, 2,500 Americans versus 11,000 British, Hessians, the whole lot. Talk about outnumbered.
Yeah, see that right there? That tells you Sterling wasn't aiming for some knockout punch. More like a strategic delay, smart maneuvering, that kind of thing.
Which is exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
June 26, 1777. The tactics, the fallout, and how this battle or skirmishes, whatever we want to call them, got so many darn names and a legacy that's bigger than you might think.
And that's the puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why all the confusion about where it was, what it was called. I think as we go through it, we'll see how messy these things get and how history remembers them, you know.
So picture this. British are out of Boston. They've nabbed New York. How? He wants that knockout blow. Got to get Washington out in the open, away from those mountains. Like you said, Philly's the big prize. And Washington, he was no dummy. He saw that coming a mile away.
Washington, he'd learned the hard way. Fighting the British head-on, out in the open, not ideal. Trenton, Princeton, those were wins, sure, but they showed him, use the land, be smart. Hence those watching mountains, a perfect fortress, right? Smart move. So how? He tries to bait him out. Early June 1777, he moves troops from Staten Island over to Perth Amboy, then inland towards New Brunswick. Looks like he's heading for Philly, right? But Washington, he ain't biting, stays put, calls up the Jersey militia, just in case.
Here's where Washington's spies come in. Word was, Howe didn't bring the right bridges, not enough supplies for a full-on Delaware crossing. Didn't really add up for a march on Philly, did it? Probably why Washington stayed put.
Good call. And by June 22nd, Howe realizes it ain't working. Washington ain't coming down. So what does he do? Retreats back to Perth Amboy, abandons New Brunswick. Offensive over, at least for now.
Makes you think maybe it was a test. Right, see what Washington would do, poke around for weaknesses, that kind of thing. Sets the stage for what comes next, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, things are about to get real interesting. Washington, he doesn't just sit back and watch. He shadows the Brits, moves his main army down from Middlebrook to a place called Quibbletown, and here comes Lord Stirling, our main man for today. He takes about 2,500 guys, heads toward Scotch Plains, north of New Brunswick. His job, screen Washington's left flank, basically be a pain in Howe's backside.
And Sterling, he's got quite the mixed bag of troops. William Maxwell's New Jersey Brigade, 1st through 4th Jersey Regiments, even Oliver Spencer's additional regiment. Then there's Thomas Conway, Pennsylvania Brigade, 3rd, 6th, 9th, 12th Pennsylvania Regiments. Oh, and don't forget the sharpshooters. Daniel Morgan's riflemen, those guys were deadly. And Ottendorf's Corps.
Ottendorf's Corps, now there's a story. Named after Baron de Ottendorf, who, get this, he skipped town right before all this went down. The Corps ended up under Charles Armand, a French soldier of fortune, if you can believe it.
Wild, right? It really shows you the mix of folks fighting for the Americans, all kinds of backgrounds, all in the same fight. Unfortunately for Armand and his guys, they'd take a lot of the casualties in what's coming.
So Stirling, he's out there with his 2,500, kind of exposed.
Yeah.
And Howe, he sees his chance. Washington's out of the mountains. Stirling's vulnerable. New plan. Hit Stirling hard, cut Washington off, force a fight on open ground.
Risky move for Howe, betting he could crush Stirling before Washington could help. Shows you how confident the Brits were, you know. More men, better trained, all that.
Game on. June 26, 1 a.m. Trap is sprung. Howe sends 2 big columns out from Perth Amboy.
Let's break them down. First column, Cornwallis is in charge. Heavy hitters, man. Hessian Jägers, those are your expert skirmishers. Then Hessian and British Grenadiers, mounted Hessian chasseurs, British Dragoons, 16th Light Dragoons, a whole battalion of guards, and the Queen's Rangers, loyalists, fighting for the crown.
That's one stacked column. What about the second?
That's Vaughan. with Howe himself tagging along. They got Jäger companies from Hesse-Kassel and Ansbach-Bayreuth, plus British light infantry and grenadiers. Cream of the crop, both sides.
So two massive columns marching through, well, they called it the Short Hills, but remember, that's not where the fight really was. They run into Sterling's guys, the pickets, the guards. Things get loud real quick.
Skirmish city. Brits push, Americans fall back, but they ain't running. They're firing, using cover, making the Brits work for every inch. That slows Howe down, gives Sterling time, you know.
And they pull those British columns right where Sterling wants them. Ash Swamp, Scotch Plains, that area. He tries to set up a line there, make a stand, but he knows, outnumbered, big time.
Problem is, the British, they brought the big guns, literally. Cannon fire, that's a game changer. Breaks up formations, demoralizes troops. Tough for Sterling to hold him off. He's forced back towards Westfield.
Yeah, those cannons, brutal. But while all this is happening, something else is going down, and it's huge. A messenger gets through, tells Washington Howe is coming, and he's coming in force. That's when Washington pulls back, further into the hill.
See, that's the thing. Sterling, he might be losing ground, but he bought something way more important.
Right.
Time. Washington gets away, sets up in a better spot. Later that day, Howe himself checks out Washington's new lines. Too strong, he says. Attacking would be suicide. Sterling's loss was actually a win.
That's strategy for you. It ain't always about holding the ground. Sometimes it's about what you enable by giving ground. And get this, the Brits, they're tired. It's hot as heck out there. They stop at Westfield, head back to Perth Amboy, and by June 30th, they're at out Jersey entirely.
Yeah, gotta factor in that heat. British in those heavy uniforms, they're cooking, chasing after the Americans. No thanks.
And then Howe does something unexpected. Mid-July, he packs up a bunch of his troops, sails off. Where to? Philadelphia. Washington knew he wanted it, but going by sea, that was a curveball.
Shows you how tricky these campaigns were. Logistics, deception, the whole 9 yards. Howe kept Washington guessing, and in the end, he got Philly. Just not how anyone expected.
Now back to the name game. Battle of Short Hills, we know that's off. Sources all agree the fighting was in Edison, Scotch Plains, not Short Hills proper.
Funny how these names stick, right? Shows you, history isn't always so neat and tidy. Sometimes it's about the story, not just the map.
Battle of Flat Hills, Battle of Metuchen Meeting House, even one British account called it the Affair at Westfield. Pick a name, any name.
Yeah, confusing much. Moral of the story, look past the label, dig into the details where it really went down.
And now for a story you'll love. From Westfield, we got Aunt Betty Frazee. Baking bread for the troops, right? Cornwallis himself, he comes up to her, asks for a loaf. She's got guts, tells him, I give this not in love but in fear. And Cornwallis, he refuses, says, not a man of my command shall touch a single loaf. Chivalry in the middle of a war.
Love that story. Maybe embellished over the years, sure, but it gives you a peek into how folks lived through this, these little human moments. Makes history real, you know?
Absolutely. But let's not forget the cost. British, they lost 5 killed, 30 wounded. Even got a specific story. Captain John Finch of the Guards. He's taunting Lord Sterling. Sterling gets mad, orders 4 marksmen to take him out. Finch dies a few days later.
Sad, right? Captain Finch, Sterling, reminds us war is personal, grudges, anger, it all comes out.
American side, the numbers are fuzzier. British claimed 100 killed or wounded. Both sides agree on 3 American cannons lost, 70 Americans captured. Ottendorf's corps, they got hit hard. 32 out of 80 guys killed or captured.
From Maxwell's brigade, we got some better numbers, thanks to Colonel Israel Shreve. 12 killed, about 20 wounded. Same number captured. 2 officers from the 2nd New Jersey, they were lost too.
Rough day for those guys facing those odds. But got to remember the big picture. They held on, helped Washington escape. That's the victory.
Exactly. Sometimes the measure of success ain't just the body count.
Last thing, the legacy of this Battle of Short Hills. Maybe not as famous as, like, Saratoga or Yorktown, but it's got its place. 2014, 300 acres in Edison, public and private land, even part of the Plainfield Country Club. They declare it the Short Hills Battlefield Historic District. Official National Register of Historic Places.
That's how you know it matters, you know. Preserves the story, the sacrifice. This wasn't just some footnote. It was part of something bigger.
And if you want to really experience it, Oak Tree Pond Park in Edison, they do reenactments of the battle. History comes alive right there.
I love those things. You see the uniforms, hear the muskets. Really gets you thinking about what they went through.
So wrapping it all up for you, Battle of Short Hills. Wrong name, right place, wrong time for the British. It saved Washington's army, stopped Howe in his tracks, shows you how a smaller fight can change the course of a whole war. And the name game, the story of Aunt Betty, it just adds to the whole thing. You know, what's fascinating to me is how something happening right here in Jersey was tied to these big plans, both sides. How he wanted to crush Washington and it backfired. Washington, he played it smart and it worked, thanks to Sterling.
It's all about perspective, right? A battle with the wrong name can still be a turning point. Makes you think, how many other events are out there, mislabeled, misunderstood? That's something to ponder, I think. What seemingly small things had a huge impact? What stories are we getting wrong? Or just missing entirely?
That's what we love to do here, find those hidden stories and share them with you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, folks. We'll be back with another one soon.
Always a pleasure. Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning. History's full of surprises.